Now, let's fix the errors we found at the previous step. Let's start with the reference planes and make sure that the dimensions in the project snap to them correctly. I'll start with the one that sets the opening edge on the left. Firstly, I will assign a name to it. And secondly, I will change the value of the isReference parameter. I need a strong reference, so I can select the special value left. Since this is a strong reference too, specify the right value and the same name for the opposite plane. The weak reference will remain of the planes set in the reveals width, but they will get the names reveal on the left and reveal on the right. We also have a plane that defines the reveal depth. It will also be a weak reference. The rest of the planes already have their set names and the correct reference type. The only thing is that this plane has quite inappropriate name. I will rename it. Here the reference type is specified as not a reference, just like for example for the center reference plane. Both of these planes are more likely to correspond with the wall dimensions than with those of the opening itself. And the walls inside the project have their own bindings, so for these planes we will leave the settings unchanged. Another important point is that if two planes are next to each other, you should not set strong reference to them. If only one of these planes is strong and the other is weak, then, when setting the dimensions, we will automatically snap to the strong one, and we can select the weak one if we press the Tab key. If both of these planes are strong, the size will cling to the one to which the mouse cursor is closer, which means that you can accidentally select the wrong plane. Basically, it doesn't matter which of these two planes I make strong. In the project, we will set the dimensions to both sides of the wall, and with such parameters values, it will be a little more convenient to specify them inside of the wall. And for the outside, we will have to use the Tab key. I'll go to the elevation view. Here, I will also define the names and reference for the planes. I will make this one a strong reference. When a particular plane is selected, its name is displayed, and from here you can correct it simply by clicking on it and changing the name. Besides the name, a void circle symbol appears at the ends of the selected plane. Using this circle, you can change the plane length. Another controlling symbol is the 3D icon. When it is on, and by default it is always on, and when the length on the plane changes, its display also changes in all views in the file. That is, now we will see the altered length if we move to other elevation views, where this plane is also projected into a line. In this case, we have another elevation back. But if we switch to 2D mode, the circle icon at the end of the plane will change. And now, by changing the length of the plane, we will only affect its display in this particular view. To return to 3D mode, you need to drag this small field point to the void circle. And the plane will automatically switch to 3D mode again. When we created extrusions in a cube family floor plan or void extrusions in a door family, these objects were automatically built from the reference level. If we select them, then in the properties, we see the workplane parameter with the value level ref level. This is exactly this object, that is, the extrusion elements have been snapped to it. It happens when we create elements while being on the floor plan view. That, as we know, is associated with the level. This can be seen in its properties. And any object that is built on the plan view gets a reference to the level which the plan view itself is associated with. But what will happen if you build an object while being in the view of one of the elevations? Go to the Create tab and select the Extrusion tool. Let's construct an arbitrary extrusion element. Let's go to the plan view. Here is the object that we built, and we can see that the plane of its construction is the center one. That said, the origin of the family. Can I choose a different construction plane? I will go to the elevation view again. And before completing the construction of the object, I will set the work plane. This can be done from the Create tab using the Set Work Plane button. You can select reference planes, levels, or grids as work planes, and you can only select the ones with their names. If we had not given names to the planes, they would not have been in this list. Well, for example, I will select the wall exterior side plane and click OK. Now let's create the extrusion again. We see that it is created precisely from this plane. Its height is built inward from it, in the same way as it was with the first extrusion element. Strictly speaking, this moment depends on the way we build the reference plane, from left to right, or from right to left, from bottom to top, or from top to bottom. Let's build a new reference plane. I'll do it from left to right. Give it a name, like O1, and go to the elevation view. Let's select this reference plane as the work one and construct a new extrusion element. And now it lined up in the other direction relative to the plane. If the plane were built from right to left, then the element would be built inward from it. I will remove the extrusion elements and this reference plane. Let's go back to the elevation view and to Create tab. The work plane that is currently active can be shown in the viewer. This is a special 3D view. We see the work plane corresponding to reference plane O1. This view is not displayed in the project browser. It is temporary. Let's close it. Besides selecting work planes from the list, we can also specify them directly. Let's go to the 3D view and press the Set button. There are three options here. There is always a work plane on 3D view by default. That corresponds the reference level, and it is highlighted now. The option Pick a line and use the work plane it was sketched in suggests that we must specify a line, but there are no lines in this file. We didn't create them. The option Pick a plane assumes that we select precisely those planes to indicate the new workplane, and object faces can also serve as planes. For example, a wall face. If we hover the mouse cursor over such a face, it will be highlighted. To specify the workplane, you need to click on the face. In addition to the ability to view the workplanes in a special 3D view, if we are already in the 3D view, we can simply click the Show Workplane button, and the workplane will be highlighted. This command works on all views, but if you use it on a plan view or on an elevation, it will not be clear enough there which plane is the work one. But in the 3D view, it is quite obvious. The highlighted workplane has a parameter that determines the size of the cells in the grid. It can be changed. Also, the workplane can be enlarged or lessened. But in fact, it is infinite. If we build an object somewhere away from its display, it will still be built on this plane. So, we have changed all the properties of the reference planes that we will need in the future. I will close the 3D view and elevation. Now, let's fix the error with the reveal depth. We need to anticipate a situation where it is equal to 0, and this is quite simple to do. I will select the extrusion element and activate the Edit Extrusion command. Any object that is drawn in sketch mode can be edited by modifying its sketch. When you change the reveal depth parameter value, the corresponding reference plane moves. Follow it by a sketch line. In the case when the reveal depth is 0, these sketch lines coincide with each other. The lines that defines the side faces of the extrusion element will turn to points, and the object itself will be flattened. This is what will cause the error. All we need to do is to move the line that is connected to the exterior face of the wall. I will unfasten the lock and shift the line. Then we will fix this position using the dimension. Besides the fact that the size can be associated with a parameter, it has also one more interesting property. We can simply select it and close the lock. Such a dependence will mean that the distance between the objects to which the size is attached will always have a constant value, in this case 120 millimeters. You can put a smaller one, for example, 10 millimeters. Select the size and close the lock again. Exit Edit Mode and save the family.